Welcome back to the channel. So yeah, this is a top 10 James Bond films, my ranking from 10 to 1. A subscriber of the channel asked if where I would put a James Bond film in my top 10 films of all time. I did say that top 10 film of all time is quite a difficult process, but then I thought, well, why not do a top 10 Bond films? I can definitely do that. So yeah, we're going to count down from 10 to 1. So yeah, join me on the video today. Okay, so let's get into the first one, and it is For Your Eyes Only. Number 10, Roger Moore film. This was off the back of Moonraker. Didn't feel quite as sort of epic globe-trotting as the Moonraker film, but I still enjoy it. It's got some great stunts in it. Nice magnet design there. And I've also got the alternate artwork there, both Japanese designs. Got the back artwork, which is similar to that magnet. Had that done by the Steelverse. Created my own, steelbooks. Yeah, really good film. Nice to see the Lotus return from The Spy Who Loved Me. And yeah, I enjoy this film, but probably one of the weaker ones for me for Roger Moore films, just in my opinion. I'd say probably the weakest one for me is A View to a Kill. That's not in this top 10. Okay, so coming in at number 9, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, starring George Lazenby, the only Bond film that he did. And I've grown more of appreciation for this film as time's gone on. I have a documentary all about George Lazenby called Becoming Bond, and it's a really good documentary. That if you do like James Bond, I highly recommend that documentary. It's a bit of a comedy sort of thing, dramatised, but it's really good. It tells you a lot about this guy, and I found it really interesting. And this film really has sort of grown on me over time. I love Telly Savalas playing the character of Blofeld. I think he's probably one of the best Blofelds that we've had, in my opinion, over the years. And again, this is the one where at the end of the film he gets married, and you see a sort of quite sensitive side to the Bond character in this one. I think Daniel Craig probably took a bit of influence from this, obviously with the No Time to Die film. So yeah, number 9 on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Okay, so coming in at number 8, Octopusy. I do love this poster. One of my favourite James Bond posters. Yeah, okay, it was probably the one of Roger Moore's sort of final outings as James Bond, and in my opinion I think he kind of should have stopped with this one. I enjoyed it. It was nice to sort of see all the stuff in India. Some nice sort of stunts in this. There is the scene with the railway, which was actually filmed in Peterborough, so that's the nearest city to where I live. So there's a nice sort of local connection there. I always enjoyed this one. Got some alternate artwork there. That's a really nice Thai poster, and on the back we've got another Japanese poster for the film. Maud Adams, she returned from being a different character in The Man with the Golden Gun. And yeah, thoroughly enjoy this one. So that's Octopussy. Coming in at number 7 is The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, growing up, this was probably, I would say, featured higher in my list. Obviously, some of these films came after this anyway, but yeah, I really did enjoy this, and I know this is a fan favourite with a lot of people. You know, that opening scene is absolute classic, where he goes over the Alps, and then the parachute with the Union Jack opens up. It's an absolute classic Bond scene. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy all the stuff in Egypt with this one. This is the sort of first time that we get to see the character of Jaws. You've got Agent Triple X in the film, and of course the wonderful Lotus Esprit, which has got the sort of submarine. Growing up as a child, you know, that was a really great toy that I had. I had the Corgi sort of quite the larger one, and the very little one as well, little model of that. But yeah, I absolutely loved that. Still one of my favourite Bond cars. It was the height of sort of the gadgets, you know. It was just amazing at the time, being a young lad, sort of seeing this car. It was just like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, also got that alternate artwork on there. You've got all the sort of underwater base, and some nice artwork on the back of that one. You've got Caroline Munro, and also there's a small cameo with Valerie Leon. And you may have seen a recent video I did where we went to Collector Mania in Milton Keynes, and Valerie Leon was actually at that convention. I didn't get a signature from her, but I did get a little bit of footage of her on the video. So yeah, go and check out that video further down in the playlist or play history of my channel. So yeah, The Spy Who Loved Me. Okay, so coming in at number 6 is the second outing for Roger Moore, and it is The Man with the Golden Gun. Absolutely love this film. This was done at the sort of height of the Kung Fu films in the early 70s. You know, when Bruce Lee had sort of done Enter the Dragon, it was around that time. I think it might have been the same year actually as Enter the Dragon was released. And yeah, I just love this film. That wonderful stunt with the car doing the 360 roll, still iconic stunt in any Bond film even today. And the wonderful golden gun, which I've actually got on there. You can see how it's made up, the pen, the lighter. Yeah, it's on the cufflink as well that makes the trigger. I just thought that was absolutely fantastic gadget. And obviously Christopher Lee as Scaramanga plays a wonderful villain in the role. And again, you've got Maud Adams down here playing a different character, Bond girl. Yeah, absolutely love this film. One of my sort of all-time favourite Bond films, The Man with the Golden Gun. Okay, so coming in at number 5, Moonraker. So as a child, this was my favourite James Bond film. So we grew up with this in the late 70s. And this again was sort of done at the time of Star Wars, Close Encounters. It was all of that time. Bond went into space. And I know for a lot of people, this is kind of like a bit daft, a bit over the top. But as a kid, you know, this was like absolute fantastic. I was just blown away with it. I loved the globe-trotting sort of element to it. You had the stuff in Venice, the chateau in France, and then it moved to the Amazon. And then finally, obviously, we go into space. And again, you've got the returning character of Jaws. He was just an iconic villain from both this and The Spy Who Loved Me. Holly Goodhead, she was the sort of kind of match to Roger Moore in this. Is one of the sort of Bond films where the sort of Bond girls were kind of starting to feel equal to Roger Moore, although there still is a lot of I guess a bit of sexism in this film. at the time. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to get away with it now. But yeah, some of the lines that sort of Roger Moore says at the time, certainly not sort of socially acceptable these days, but for its time, you know, that was how things were. But yeah, it was sort of absolutely fantastic. I loved the sort of whole feel to the film. It felt very sort of epic, grandiose, and I think they were sort of off the back of Star Wars and Close Encounters. They were trying to sort of feed into to the, you know, within this film. That's what the James Bond films have always done. They've always remained contemporary with the times. Let's just hope that continues with Amazon, that they continue that trend. But yeah, absolute classic Moonraker. Okay, so now we're getting into the sort of last four, and number four, The Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton's first outing as James Bond. Sadly, he only had two films, this and License to Kill. But out of the two films, I actually prefer this one. It's a little bit more akin to the Roger Moore transition, shall we say. Seeing License to Kill, that was far more serious. It was the 15 rating that one got, and I think that was more what Timothy Dalton really wanted to bring to the role. In this one, he was sort of finding his feet, and he still had the sort of one-liners in there from the Roger Moore era. But yeah, again, absolutely love this poster art. One of my favourite poster arts. This and Moonraker and Octopusy are really high up there. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I do have this alternate artwork which I really like, which is the scene at the start in Gibraltar, where Bond is coming off of this airplane, 00 agents on a training exercise, and yeah, I just think that's great artwork. And then on the back you've got that alternate artwork, very stylized, very Bond-esque. Really do like this film. So yeah, The Living Daylights. Okay, so now into the top three James Bond films. So number three, Goldfinger. My favourite Sean Connery film. I only actually own this and Dr. No. I do own Never Say Never Again as well, but obviously that was a kind of spin-off. It wasn't an official Eon production. Although I do have the Eon cut now, which you'll have seen in a previous video as well. Yeah, that's quite clever because they've tried to sort of make it more like an Eon production. Yet to watch it all the way through, but I did watch the first few minutes of it and I really thought it was done really well. But yeah, for me, Goldfinger, it's the sort of the best Connery film I think that he did. What was this? I think this is the third film that he did. We've got the DB5 in it with the ejector seat. The wonderful Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore. The iconic girl all in gold laid across the bed. And they did a kind of homage to that in Quantum of Solace with the girl all in oil. I thought that was a really nice sort of throwback to this original scene in Goldfinger. Obviously, you had the character, the villain of Goldfinger in this, Blofeld with the bowler hat. Yeah, it was done so well. Very much the Bond of the 60s. I think it really encapsulated that time. And for me, this is sort of an iconic Bond film. I think with all James Bond fans, this is very high up in people's listings. And yeah, number three for me for Goldfinger. Okay, so coming in at number two is the first outing for Roger Moore, and it's Live and Let Die. Again, this was done sort of in the early 70s, off the back of the sort of black exploitation films of the time. Yeah, it had a lot of stuff in this. There was obviously all the tarot sort of cards sort of within it. You had solitaire, the sort of mystery, that kind of stuff. And I love the boat chase in this, and you've got the crocodiles. J.W. Pepper, he was in this, and then he returned within The Man with the Golden Gun. A little bit of light-heartedness in there. Although this was the first role for Roger Moore, so he was sort of finding his feet. But he was a very different Bond to Sean Connery. I wonder what sort of fans sort of thought of this when they first saw Roger Moore, because he was a very, very different Bond. But that's why I think he really worked, because he was so different. He didn't copy what Sean Connery did. He wanted to do something else, and that's why, you know, he was an iconic Bond. He was the Bond that I grew up with as a child, so I've always had you know, favourites, and that's why you've seen a lot of his films in my top 10. But yeah, this for me, I love the soundtrack on this one. Paul McCartney and Wings. It's probably my favourite James Bond theme. Very, very different to all of the sort of other Bond themes that we get. Very orchestral. This was rock. Again, it was the sort of in the early 70s, you know, rock bands were coming through, prog rock and all this sort of stuff. And I just absolutely loved the theme tune to this film. Well, I've got this alternate artwork, which again the Stillverse did for me. I really like that. And then again on the back you've got similar artwork. Yeah, absolute classic. Live and Let Die. Okay, so my number one pick is Casino Royale. So this was the first book that was written by Ian Fleming, and obviously the first outing for Daniel Craig. When Daniel Craig was announced as James Bond, I was quite hesitant. He was a very different look to what we got with Pierce Brosnan. I think Pierce Brosnan sort of almost emulated the Sean Connery look, but then he did have a little bit of flippancy that he took from Roger Moore, so he was a kind of combination of the two. Personally, not a favourite of mine as an actor of Bond. I like GoldenEye, but the rest of his Bond films, really didn't work for me. But when Daniel Craig came onto the scene, and then this take was very much a sort of reset. Off of the back of Die Another Day, which in my opinion is sort of the worst James Bond film. It just got ridiculous. I didn't like that one at all, even though it was quite successful at the box office. But when this came along, it was the origin story of him. Casino Royale, the rights of it were sort of in legal sort of battles for years. They couldn't make the film, and then eventually the rights returned to Eon Productions. And yeah, what a film this was. You know, it was done so well. It felt raw. It felt you know, it showed a different Bond. I think Daniel Craig had kind of looked at what Timothy Dalton had done, brought that very sort of more serious Bond that we did get with Sean Connery, and he just used that as the benchmark. Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton's Bond, and then he took that and he ran with it. You know, some of the scenes in this particular film, certainly that opening is quite sort of brutal. Yeah, no messing around, just getting straight into business. But yeah, I like the chemistry between him and Eva Green. You can see that sort of on screen, really sort of that sort of love interest that happened. You know, he fell in love with her. You know, there's some really great scenes. The one scene that stands out to me is the shower scene where he's just killed a couple of people, and she's completely shocked by it. And it's quite a tender moment where he's sort of comforting her, and he's trying to sort of say it's going to be okay. Yes, this was a traumatic experience, but yeah, that was quite a powerful scene, I felt. But yeah, and the ending of this, you know, you can see he's desperately in love with her, and she's obviously betrayed him. And towards the end of the film, it goes back to him being like, yeah, I'm, you know, just going to sort of sort myself out. You know, I've opened myself up and been betrayed. But you can see that he's trying to sort of save her, and you know, that sort of theme continues. He's still got that love for her, even through to No Time to Die. But yeah, it's just a wonderful film. Again, you get to see the DB7 in this, and the DB5. I really like that. Or the DBS, no, sorry, the DBS. I really like that design of Aston Martin. That stunt that's happened with the flip is, you know, again, another iconic stunt scene. So many moments from this film that sort of, you know, it doesn't tire. I can watch this time and time again. And Mad Mikkelsen again as the villain. You've got that poker scene in Casino Royale. You know, absolutely iconic Bond stuff, harping back to the, you know, Ian Fleming books, which I just absolutely love this one. My favourite James Bond film, Casino Royale. So I hope you enjoyed that rundown of my top 10 James Bond films. Stick down in the comments, what are your top 10 James Bond films? I'm sure you'd have a different order to these. Who was your Bond? Who was your, you know, favourite? I guess we all, you know, have our times where we were sort of growing up with different Bonds. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts down below. I'll also leave a link for some playlists. I have a playlist for James Bond and some other videos. I'll try and link those at the end of this video. They're probably coming up now. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye now.